What's up, everybody? My name is Kalen. I am the key keeper. Welcome to our Kikis at Purkeys Lake. Tonight, I am going to be presenting a live reaction to the marvelous Demystifiers series on the Universe podcast. This particular episode is called Loki, Lamentus, and the Equilibrium of Adjustment Scales. This is Loki Season 1, Episode 3, Marvelous Demystifiers, Episode 18 on the Universe podcast. In the description we read, Slick and I picked up the Marvelous Demystifiers trail once again. The third episode of Loki conceals some dark Disney dealings, a path to deeper understanding of the Justice card of the Major Arcana, the Prophet Jeremiah and the Book of Lamentations, and a revelation of the misguided magical reasons for all the gender bending pushed in society. So let us tune in for the gnosis and let us bring within ourselves the keys at Purkeys Lake, because the journey here is to embrace life and truth and consciousness as a sentient substance in life, and therefore we always measure what we absorb against what we already know, what it triggers, where it's supposed to fit in, how to alchemically work with the archetypes psychodynamically, and being accountable for being honest, because at the end of the day, I feel nothing can hurt us when we aren't caught in a delusion about how to be honest about what we truly mind within. So let us start.
Your thing. As always, this series is an incredible launch pad, really, for us to talk about symbolism and the keys to the esoteric system, the mystery school. So, that's what I love about it. Because there's so many different facets of this mythos and of this religion, of this universal priestcraft. And it's like, how do you even begin explaining it to people? How do you take what's in your head, Gabe, and put it in the heads of the other people? All of the syncretism. I don't really know where to start, but when you have an allegory to work from, that's a great framework for us to be able to discuss these things and teach about these things. And I think that's why the scriptures were always in allegory form in the first place, because it's like the best way to do it. So whether or not you're comic book nerds or fans, you're going to like this conversation. It's going to be fun. Tell your friends. Dylan's on it. Lamented one. Bacchus much? Dude, it's so Bacchus. This whole episode is... Welcome to the Bacchus show, where you get to find out that Loki is actually Bacchus. Yeah, so what's up, Gabe? How you doing, man? Good evening.
Yeah, glorious, wonderful, awesome. I'm super stoked for this. This one really has a very crystal clear conveyance. I think we got our finger on the pulse. So I'm stoked to bring this one forward.
When you twirl and appear, flick around
because
and you chirp
you mentioned
in my
the adjustment
ear.
card. And when you took the adjustment card, I knew exactly where to focus all of the symbolic potentiality. Because this is where he meets his other self. He kind of, this other Loki, this renegade Loki, is kind of like his Animus, So there's kind of a come
100%
to Jesus, dealing with the shadow. All these things are kind of intrinsic, and how material, of course, that there have to be multiple Lokis.
Yeah, the twin symbolism. Gotta have it. The Gemini character. So as you see here, the name of this episode is Lamentus, and let's get right into it. So when we hear the word Lamentus, I don't know about you, but the first thing I think of is the Book of Lamentations of the Bible, right? So here's a couple of images of the prophet Jeremiah lamenting the destruction of Jerusalem. We'll talk about both of these things before we even get into the episode, because these are frameworks that are necessary if that's the allegory, and it definitely is.
I've definitely been experiencing a bit of a Alita moment, just in terms of thy kingdom come, thy will be done, knowing that it is written in heaven astrally as per the collective dream time. And if you checked out the latest podcast on Universe podcast, it also spoke about the variant. And so vibrationally, I was feeling very genetically read by astral entities. Like, I don't know, like, did the cup of Ganymede spill Mercury exalts in Aquarius? Orion, Auriga, Obatala, Olaroon? I don't know. It's just like, it's fascinating that I literally heard in my psychotic break, like, we got a there's been better ones before, but fuck that. Let me stream of consciousness, my consciousness as well, and not be polarized. You know, whatever's coming online, false memories, past lives, Maldek lives, intergalactic lives, grimoire lives, Saraswati to the breath of life, to the listening star, Alashravan Namatangi, Terra lives, homunculi lives. Let it be in God's name, as the 5 principles of organized complexity. You know, I actually don't want to call him an astrologer anymore. He clarified in that video that he studies organized complex systems, and his book is called The 5 Principles of Organized Complexity. So do check him out. Hi Niall, you are a master at your craft. I wouldn't be anywhere close to where I am right now, knowing that you were an incremental stepping stone in me polishing the Gemini within. And to Slick Dissident and Chance Garten and the entire team that contributes to the Universe podcast and all the various shows that they do. Also to Clay Nakti, Santos Bonacci, Sivan Boma, Rashad Jamal. There are so many people that really inspired me to have a backbone in terms of the spiritual warfare of just knowing what my alter self gets up to in the dark, right? And me needing to have him / her get a serious talking to by the immune response of my cherubim, and you know, just guarding the seat of my convictions within the holiest of holies, knowing that my intention should be what I say when I say it, you know. No more lies, no more Gemini disconfoculating different conscious leaders like Kenji King, owning ourselves, knowing what we absorbed, knowing what Enneagram 5 avariciously mammon spirit obtained, and releasing optimally and just draining this pus, like I almost said astrologer again. My hero in the study of organized complexity through which astrology becomes a language taught me, and Slick Dissident through his Enneagram and formscapes and so many different tarot readers online. Everybody who has an intuitive gift, who just knows how to stream of consciousness in alignment with universal truth. Their truths are timeless, like you can listen to their videos at different points in your life, and if you honestly self-reflect, you will find a takeaway that God gives just for you, and therefore you don't have to break down anybody's altar, you don't have to break down anybody's essence to subsume the matter of a thing, but that it can be a reciprocal and loving energetic exchange. That's why I've also been trying to like the videos that I watch when I enter upon my favorite channels and so on. I immediately like the videos because I want to be accountable for the fact that I need to also put out the energy that I want to receive, not just because YouTube is becoming a vehicle for me to become entrepreneurial in the digital age, but also just as a human being, knowing that there are people who I can resonate with and vibrate with, and that there are people that I don't, and cool, that's on them, let them be. But I'm still allowed to be in communion with the God of life, and through the gnosis that we receive through Jesus Christ and Lucifer the light bearer, we come to understand that all reality is internal to us. And does it mean there aren't parallel realities? Of course not, because everybody else lives with their reality in their head and in their being and their environment and the simulacra by which they define the extensions. It all sustains what that reality generating system is, so the podcast that I watched on the 5 principles of organized complexity was about Libra moon, and in Mastering the Zodiac I am a Libra moon at the anaretic degree on the scales, and so it just gave me a lot of perspective, a projector, and it gave me a lot of clarity as to the relationshiping process through which I strive to harmonize inconsistencies and patterns and biases and filters and tensions within myself, knowing there are so many aspects of humanity that I want to be able to relate to or understand or see within the context of being functional lights in greater plan, just like the stars barred together in a scripture that is, it's like a cheat sheet for all the patterns into which you can dream, the Torah, the Enneagram, the Tetragrammaton Elohim, the seed of consciousness. It's just like, it's the most beautiful recognition that I've ever been able to find within myself, and and feeling that I do have value to add to the world, not because of knowing all of these spiritual terms and being able to woohoo with it, but knowing that the inner peace that I own when I go to sleep at night, or when I Scorpio moon conjunct Pluto in the 12th myself out of like a mirror in which I get medused. You know, these are the things that I strive to teach and share at Purke's Lake. And and I mean, I've been sharing my financial struggle, which I want to be the starting point of being, you know, financial abundance, because I want to be able to functionally have access to the worlds in which I can have the types of experiences that I dream of and share it with my family and friends and loved ones, and meet people and meet people that I look up to, and meet people that can teach me new things, and therefore I realize I need to create the pathways in reality by which I can have those accesses, and and that the physical part of it is just the slowest moving plane upon which all of those Shirvanic coagulated milks moon eye together in the simulacra, but within the seat of my consciousness, knowing that, you know, what I can do, I have to like train AI to be able to do, you know, or people had to train AI to be able to simulate me, and it can still only go to the extent of that which it knows, but I can always be on the precipice to like the unknown and the new and the unseen, hidden, occulted, new definitions, synonyms, morphologies, philologies of the words, all of those things, because that is what I've been inviting with the process of at Purke's Lake, and essentially trying to clarify my own spiritual confusion by listening to the greats, you know. So let's continue. We are watching Marvelous Demystifiers, Loki Lamentis, the equilibrium of adjustment scales. Oh, and the other thing, wait, my YouTube's just having a freezing moment. The other thing, Kinji King, girl, you are, mm, mm, mm. You are the one, you know. I fucking love you, and I am so grateful for you seeing something in me that I didn't care to embrace. I didn't think it was worthy of sharing, and knowing that I am on YouTube today in this space, sharing new knowledge, sharing new information, doing what my astrologer advised me to do, to tap into my Scorpio moon hidden in the 12th, and and knowing that I've had to have a lot of obstacles, but that I can now use these things to give others pathways into becoming and self-realization and awakening, I just want to kind of play the little voice note that she sent me in reaction to my latest video, where I did an impression of Diary of a Mad Black Woman, because it's something that she did for a talent show and she posted it on Instagram, and so that's how I was kind of wanting to honor her as well. And then it became a whole stream of consciousness musical moment.
Kaylin, my guy, you are just a spiritual, intellectual force of greatness, wisdom, philosophy, culture, mixed personalities, all of it. You are so like a true gem. You're a true fucking gem. You shine that fucking gem in your limelight. You take that fucking gem, you shine, bitch. You shine that shit loud. I feel your words. I feel your power. I feel the spirituality. I feel the connection. I feel the depth. Oh, you make me like, bring awareness to myself, even though I make you aware. We make each other awareness upon the awakening. You know, awareness upon the awakening. Oh, I feel you on levels. Love you so much. Thank you for this. Can't believe I inspired you to start a YouTube channel. So many views and such interesting content. I'm gonna like all of your videos and watch all of your videos and like, wow, I am your inspiration, nigga. You better remember that for the rest of your life. Love it.
Yes, I shall. I never want to forget the divine feminine in my life ever again, no matter how, my mom was traumatized and how my relationship to my primary caregivers has been creating this inner wounding as to how I could receive Mother Nature within me and the wisdom of God within me. I never want to forget that there is something immaculate and so beyond my comprehension that it felt like the fractal of light that I was able to stream was but a spark or a glimmering ember on an ocean of flittering lights and dreams. So let's continue. Marvelous demystifiers.
Because these are frameworks that are necessary if that's the allegory, and it definitely is. One thing I want to point out here is the holding of the head, the lamentation posture that he's got going on here. I may have even missed a few times where it popped up, but I definitely had my eyes peeled for that, and I think that there's at least one or two other times that it shows up. So Jeremiah, the prophet, let's talk about that. That name Jeremiah is Yah, Ra, Maya, or Maya. So you have the God or the Lord, Yah, and then Ra, the sun, and then Maya or Maya. That's illusion, or the name of the mother of Buddha, the name of the mother of Mercury. In Hebrew, the name Jeremiah is Yir-Maya-Hu. Yir-Maya-Hu. Also, sometimes they spell it with like that Yahoo phonetic, which is... Anyway, the other thing about the Jera, of Jeremiah, that's potentially, you could also say that's Hiero, as in sacred, like hieroglyphics, sacred writing. So Jeremiah, Hiero, Maya, the sacred Maya, sacred mother. Now, the Book of Lamentations is a collection of poetic laments for the destruction of Jerusalem. And the motifs of a traditional Mesopotamian city lament are evident in the book, such as mourning, the desertion of the city by God, its destruction, and then later the ultimate return of the divinity. So big time allegory here. There's also a lamentation of the sacrificed or the fallen deity that resurrects. That's part of Lamentations when we bring that word up.
I got to point out there's a time pad, a temp pad shape right there under his hand. The shadow of that archway is in the shape, the iconic shape of the temp pad, which is going to be the MacGuffin of this episode, in the black and white sketch. If you look, go up a little, right there, the shape of the shadow on that archway is the shape of one of the temp pads, which is the MacGuffin of the episode. Which, from my read, I think the temp pad is the Fornax constellation for 1,000 different reasons. But I just wanted to bring that shape into people's minds. It's fascinating that when you look up Lamentations, you find an image that is correspondent to the temp pad. That is really fascinating. You weren't even, you're looking at this not through the eyes of Loki, and you're still finding iconic shadow play in the art.
Ginny says, isn't it interesting that seemingly the only variant consistently being traced by the TVA in this show are Loki variants? Only the Bacchus figure can transcend time. That's actually a really good point. And when you look at Bacchus or Dionysus in his form as Phanes, or Mithras as Phanes, we'll bring Phanes up later, but that's the character that's born from the Orphic egg, and that egg was laid by Kronos, or time, or created by time, or Brahma, depending on which system, but it's all the same mythos in different cultures. So in the Book of Lamentations, there's a couple of verses here that I'll pull up that demonstrate the astrotheology of this book, and thus inform us on what to look out for symbolically in this episode. This is all from chapter 1 of the 5, or book 1 of Lamentations of the 5 books.
Oh my gosh, I feel like these things happened. Like, check out my latest videos. Ever since I had that episode for which I needed to go to hospital and stuff like that, you'll know exactly what I mean.
Ways of Zion do mourn, because none come to the solemn feasts. All her gates are desolate. Her priests sigh. Her virgins are afflicted, and she is in bitterness. The Lord hath trodden underfoot all my mighty men in the midst of me. He hath called an assembly against me to crush my young men. The Lord hath trodden the virgin, the daughter of Judah, as in a winepress. Behold, O Lord, for I am in distress. My bowels are troubled. Mine heart is turned within me, for I have grievously rebelled. Abroad, the sword bereaveth. At home there is death. So we're in the transition from Virgo to Libra, in my opinion, or just that general time period from the hot part of the summer, Leo, but after the sun starting to decline, to the gates of judgment in Libra. So Leo, Virgo, Libra, those three. I mean, heart is the Leo part of the zodiac man. The bowels, that's Virgo. My bowels are troubled. So we also need to talk about the Lamentations of Tammuz. That's a huge one. So here's Tammuz from the Sumerian system, if you will. Also known as Dumuzi. In the Mesopotamian religion, he's the god of fertility, embodying the powers for new life in nature in the spring. And it's obvious, with this imagery that Tammuz looks a lot like Osiris. He was known as a shepherd. He has an underworld cycle with his sister, very similar to the Demeter story, very important to this. And Another good comment from Dylan. Bacchus is time, Saturn/Kronos. And if you look at the status quo, they believe they're all the same accounts of Noah, called by other names by different cultures. I'm actually going to quote a thing that's in one of your books, Dylan. Where I can't remember which book it was. I think it might be July's End. I guess I didn't make a note of it. But it's one of the Spirit World books where you quote Thomas Hyde in Eternia Mundi. Oh wait, it's a Godsaker. Okay, book 4 of Spirit World. This is maybe a truncated quote, but Thomas Hyde, I believe a church father, says, "Their Osiris, by another name, was called Bacchus, the so-called weeping. Among the Sabians, the people of Phoenicia, it is celebrated in the middle of the month of Tammuz, the Lamentations. That's July. It was the feast of Bokat, of weeping women, which was celebrated in favor of Tammuz. But the women wept for him, as his master slew him, and he smashed his bones in a millstone, and afterwards scattered them in pieces. Of course, they understand the sun by the name of Tammuz. But the prophet Ezekiel mentions this institution in chapter 8 of the women who mourned for Tammuz, or the sun, whose month of July was sacred and was named by him, with Tammuz, the Syrian of the Phoenicians, since the month was very hot and filled with the sun. But the sun's departure, because it then begins to decline, they lamented, feigning that he was slain by his master and scattered to pieces. But at the beginning of the spring of the year, the approach and reinvention of the same Osiris, that of a circuitous man, was wont to bring forth no small joy to them, and the sun was called Osir." Sounds like Acer, right? Loki is with the Acer. The sun was called Osir, or a circuitor, on account of the ceremony of weeping for him, and by another name he was called Bacchus, who in the words of Herodotus was Osiris. Very important, especially if you have, jumped ahead watching this series to season 2, the circuitor, that element. You see Loki going through entire time loops where he jumps forward and ends up in the past, and jumps backwards and ends up forwards. He doesn't know which way he's going, but that's getting ahead of us. Like Tammuz, though, Adonis is also slain by the boar's tusk of winter, but eventually ransomed from Hades by the prayers of the goddess Aphrodite. And Adonis, by the way, Adonai is what the Old Testament calls Jehovah all the time. And Adonis is also an epithet of Bacchus, according to the mainstream. But always remember this. This is one thing that I hope you take away from our talks, is that the huge plurality of gods in mythological systems is mostly due to the misunderstanding the mainstream has that one god or goddess has many, many names in different cultures, or letter swaps create different versions of the name for different dialects, different spellings, and that epithets are confused for individual extra gods. And then the last thing to say about Tammuz here for now is that, an example of what I'm talking about, allegedly Zeus had a wife named Themis, which is basically Tammuz. That's, in my opinion, where the name of the river Thames in England comes from, the river that goes through London. And Themis was a personification of justice, divine order, and law. So here we have that Libra symbolism again. All right, Gabe, I know you're ready to let her rip on all that.
This is all very interesting, especially given how I went through a tropical seasoning of a Scorpio moon only to arrive at a Libra moon, mastering the zodiac sensibility of myself, exposed to all of that murky shit that I was going through, because I was like, I don't want to proclaim judgment. I don't want the law to be unfulfilled. I don't want anything to be undone, because that would take away from the substance of truth which bore the Urania egg of my untapped dome, looking for potential in a get out matrix black hole situation of myself, seeing a Lilith to my mom and a twin flame to the dream ship, and knowing that it was sung in the memories that I skipped and therefore truly being imbibed with wholeness in evolution, I was crying. Like, I'm like so not the person who like wants to cry in front of people, because I like that's been something that like was used against me. Like, don't cry, you're a boy. Like, don't show them you're weak. Don't show them they got to you. Like that type of thing. You know, if you make a mermaid cry. So yeah, like I want to accept my dad, right? But it's like I can't settle for this pie in the sky giving me Vulcans, trinkets, and stolen moon eyes, and money washed dollar whore reflections of like my own orgasms. You know, they say on Clear Nakti's channel, like the reason why Jeshta is the height of Ketu in terms of uh, material accumulation. You know, it's a Mercury nakshatra. Um, but it's because it releases semen constantly. So it's constantly impregnating the earth. And then she had this little graphic of like how the flowers are growing outside of the Jeshta person, but they are just this black shadow silhouette with a flame in the heart. I've been feeling a bit like that. Like I felt like all my little brain children were running around outside of me and I had no control over them. And it's like they were telling me like I'm hungry for the spirits that you fed on to be conscious. So like don't deny us the process of going through that by which you found gnosis in that. So I feel like true divine masculine and divine feminine wisdom is guiding me at this point, and I don't have to be swayed by anybody. I can actually be Libra moon neutral and feel like it is within me to bring about a harmonious relationship to every sentience that functionally serves reality, you know, and I needed to be responsible for myself, dreaming alongside that a more beautiful dream in which I want to live, you know.
Uh, well, it's very interesting that in the Crowley book that I went ahead and looked up on the adjustment card, it totally had all.
These things are sounding so soft.
It's very interesting that in the Crowley book that I went ahead and looked up on the adjustment card, it totally had all the agreement in the world because he brought up the battle between Nemesis and Themis, basically. Nemesis and Themis, which is
I
the
have
two
Nemesis
sisters
on my
of the
ascendant
day and
in
the night,
Sagittarius.
Victory and Justice.
I just noticed that Themis is an anagram for Metis. Metis meaning wisdom,
Right.
was an epithet for Athena, and also Phanes, the figure also called Dionysus that burst forth from the Orphic egg, the world egg, was called Metis as well. So, you know, when you start mixing up their so-called epithets and alternate names, you realize, it's all the same guy. It's all the same guy here, who's also a girl.
It's the metamorphosis of the sky, you know, going through its own shape.
Yala is biasa.
For sure. In his chapter on the adjustment card, he brings forward the lambdoma, Lambdoma, is part of the harmony he was expressing with the adjustment card. And the lambdoma is a old calculator, basically. It's the first
recording.
What am I thinking of? The Chinese calculator. And it's called the ABAX. And it's very fascinating to me because lambdoma definitely echoes or rhymes with lamentus, which is the name of this episode in particular. But I sent you a little copy from the book.
Or lamed, the Hebrew version of the lambda or L. Lamed,
right.
lamentus, and lamed is the letter that's on the adjustment card.
Yes, and this is a rite of passage that we're about to go through. A million rites of passage, including jumping through windows, all kinds of archways and toppling constructs, the fall of civilization in general.
Tons of tower moments at the end.
Yes. And the ox goad, or the lamed, is correspondent also with the hook. So there's the hook and the flail. One is a right angle, and the other one is kind of a curly Q. But those are both listed in the Thoth description in the official manual by the book, as it were. Which, by the way, I don't really recommend this book very much. I find this book to be walking in a million small circles and not really getting anywhere. But there are some good nuggets in there. It's just not really instructional or informative, other than telling you what the actual signs and glyphs really mean on each card. But one of the locations that inspired the adjustment card in particular was said to be the Notre Dame Cathedral. And I think he was implying that the harmonic resonance of the building, architectural resonance.
We've been making Frollo and Quasimodo references, haven't we? And
that's very fascinating to me, looking back at what happened to the Notre Dame Cathedral
on
and what ends up happening at the end of this specific episode. I found that to be very apropos. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we'll get back into that. I have a feeling, because I saw the images that you cobbled together and sent to me, and I know there's a particular one that you love to bring up anytime it's appropriate. So, now that we've laid some groundwork, the first thing that we get in this episode, before we even see any shots, is music. The Marvel logo starts to play or go up, but they're playing some music in the background, and the lyrics were, it had that sort of like mathematical perfect beat that just forces you to tap your foot, like some kind of sorcery. And the first lyrics were really interesting, so I went and looked up more about it. So the opening song is apparently called Demons by someone called Haley Kiyoko. And I looked into this Haley Kiyoko, and Kiyoko, she's the Disney version of the Dark Virgin. She's like a Miley Cyrus character.
Darling, this is getting scary. Why can't I stop shaking? I know you can't see them.
gay representative for teenagers
Glances, all I
to
see are
full-on,
glances,
I've got
left
demons
and
in my
right
head.
they
You
like
know,
it
so
when
the
they
lyrics
know
to the
I'm
song, they actually, in
anxious.
this episode, they skipped the first line.
Shadows, all I
Because the first
see are
line of the song
shadows,
is, please
hiding
forgive me,
where
I've
the
got demons in
wind
my head.
blows.
But they
And
skip that
when my
part,
mind
and they start you
starts
on the line,
going,
there's something in the
how
water.
about we
I don't like
play
the
a
flavor. I don't like the
game? I
taste.
know you
Searching
like
for
it
nirvana.
too.
Something that'll
You
take it all
stay
away
as
from
far
me.
as you can
Don't bother
before
me. My
they
misery
get
is
to
holding
you.
me.
I may seem
Won't let me
crazy,
speak.
but it's only 'cause I
Please forgive me. I've
am.
got demons in
Before
my
they
head.
live in your
Trying
mind,
to eat me, trying
run,
to feed me
run,
lies till I'm dead.
run.
This gal, she's around my age, almost at our age, but I forget you're older than me. So she's 32 currently. Sometimes, she says, sometimes it gets severe, and sometimes it's really scary, she explains. Demons was inspired by a memo on her phone that she'd kept. And it's like, in this article, it's implied like that she just found it on her phone and didn't know she had written it. And it said, please forgive me, I've got demons in my head, they're trying to eat me until I'm dead. I had that on my phone, she says, and was like, whoa, that's really dark and scary. I'm concerned for myself. So, this chick, Haley Kiyoko, if you look her up, all over the gay internet, she's being called Lesbian Jesus. Lesbian Jesus. So that implies sacrifice if there's a Jesus involved. But I feel like that ought to just, I think we should just let that sort of ride, like leave that, we get it. They're calling her Lesbian Jesus. Make of that what you will. It's actually super disturbing. This is like the really disturbing aspect of Disney, where, they have these people on a assembly line from the age of from when they're a small child all the way up to when they're corrupted, demon-infested monsters. Juan says, please forgive me, I've got homunculi in my head. We can forgive you. What's up, Juan? Good to see you, man.
Oh my god.
But to continue looking
This
at her,
shit I've been thinking
just
of.
because I kind of got into a morbid fascination, I'd never even heard of this chick. But here's some of her filmography. Famous for Wizards of Waverly Place, which was
I remember Stevie.
and this was before Disney could openly do gay stuff.
Alex and Harper,
They had
Mia
her as
Kapoor, Mia Kapoor,
like a 13-year-old.
I don't know
I
what
guess
that
maybe
is
she would have been like
supposed
a
to be.
15-year-old.
I don't
exactly,
care.
but,
I am
had her as
just sanctifying it with the fact that it was part
closeted
of my
gay
reality.
character where they acted gay.
And
Anyway, it's a bummer, but
God
when you
told
look
me
into how
love,
she got her start in her career, this is where it gets really fishy.
love is the strongest
Kyoko was discovered at the
antidote
age of
you have
5 when
to
she went with her friend to a photo
anything
shoot.
that you
The
perceive
director
as
asked her to step in
being
front of the camera, and she ended up in a
hurtful,
national
confusing.
print ad for KnowledgeWare. So I'm like, okay, what's KnowledgeWare? KnowledgeWare was a software company headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. So if you know, now Atlanta, Georgia is the new Hollywood. Hollywood's all shifted there. All the Loki filming and all the Disney Marvel filming and lots of other shows it's the new Hollywood. But back when this gal was 5, it wouldn't have been the new Hollywood yet. But we can see that the mafia or whatever had its thing going already. KnowledgeWare is an interesting name. Knowledge is gnosis or wisdom. Where is the same as the word fair, as in variant, which we covered that off last episode pretty deeply. But that word where or ver is flow or river or change. So KnowledgeWare is like the flow of knowledge or the changing of knowledge. Very bizarre. The company's founder, I believe, or the guy who, co-founded and run by this guy Tarkenton. Tarkenton is credited with having coined, quote, "A fool with a tool is a faster fool." So this guy and his co-founder or partner or whatever were eventually involved in legal shenanigans brought about by the SEC for engaging in fraudulent schemes to inflate their financial results to meet sales and earnings projections. So very obvious that this KnowledgeWare company was some kind of front, money laundering, mafia shit. And that's where this poor girl got discovered. So so-called.
Yeah.
And now to
You know,
go
her
back
name
to
has her,
Go
her
ahead.
name is like almost okie dokie. You know, it's like Little Miss, go along, get along, everything's good.
Okay,
say
okay, no
yes
problem.
So in
Oh, the
the book of
little dude
Jeremiah,
of it all.
allegedly the
Oh,
prophet,
I'm so lamenting the
Pyro
fact that I had no
sacred Maya,
fucking spiritual
he or she
backbone.
says, "For my people have committed two evils. They have forsaken me with the fountain of living waters, and hewed them out cisterns, broken cisterns that can hold no water." And in chapter 17, verse 3, it says, "O Lord, the hope of Israel, all that forsake thee shall be ashamed, and they that depart from me shall be written in the earth, because they have forsaken the Lord, the fountain of living waters." You know, back to the lyrics that you hear, the very first lyrics of this song,
That is
that's the
beautiful.
beginning of this episode. There's something in the water. I don't like the flavor. I don't like the taste.
And Chance, again, I keep seeing it. The Fornax constellation is at the foot of the Uranus River in the heavens. And so it's literally in a bend, in an oxbow of the river. Like the river does a really dramatic loop on itself. And inside of that loop is where the Fornax constellation is. And so these lyrics about the water tastes weird, and then even in the biblical aspect of that you were rapping about the water separate.
This is really interesting because, like, when I had the uh, reality break that my family has now been uh, advising me to get medicated for, like, one of the things I was doing in that, like, episode, I was literally drinking the dishwashing water because, like, people were walking past my house with, like, a Bible in their hands and, like, scratching out scriptures and stuff. I don't know if they were freaking, like, scribing me. I don't know. Like I say, I'm not here claiming to know the truth. I'm here to transmit the truth that was received faithfully. And I'm hoping that there is a God of life behind the divine reason that holds it all, you know, as His heaven, as His footstool on earth, as the total symbol of what the Elohim, male and female created He, them, can stand for, you know, in the full psychodynamic context of the Torah and everything that I've been learning through astrology syncretized into religious symbology and the philology and cognates of languages, you know.
In the waters. Again, I'm seeing alchemy. I'm seeing all these elements of alchemy.
And I was literally like, this is my fucking water. You ain't getting none of this shit. Like, get your own. Go fucking tap your own mother. Like, you are not tapping my mother. Like, even if she is a witch, even if I saw her literally being Lilith, I know no other physical life without her. I've been the twin flame Loki renegade on her side ever since we lived in Mars Street and my dad was slapping her around. So whatever blood I have on my hands in terms of, like, just in the imagination realm of having this very aggressive 29-degree Scorpio moon conjunct Pluto type of, like, slasher defense against any image and likeness that's trying to impede upon my holiest of holies. I now know why God was guiding me to be so protective of myself, even if I am a fallen angel, even if I am a Mary Starseed, even if I'm a Hansel and Gretel lost in the enchanted forest, cooked into a pie.
Access portal.
It's not simple to say. Most days I don't recognize me. with these shoes and this apron, that place and its patrons have taken. Het ek vir julle gevra? Okay, nou kom luister julle nie. Gaan raas daar binne. Ek sê nie shut down nie, but respect die feit dat ek ook die space nodig het vir 'n recording hier buite.
Almost like a mouse entry, you know, that. Cinderella, ultra karma in my belly.
I just hate feeling like I burn people to ashes whenever I have a phoenix moment of resurrecting an aspect of myself that I've already seen go through decay, because like all the Enneagram elements, it's like if they aren't moving around, getting their wings, getting their spears, like you are not a fully integrated conscious being, you know, if you are like putting your aggression to the side, or you know, like when you're in your giver mode or in your observer mode or in your challenger mode, you know, like, or being an individualist or a performer or a perfectionist, or an enthusiast, epicure, or a loyalist. Like, I know that I am all of those things unto the people that I love because of how I love me, knowing that I have all these elements and I need to share these elements so that I can navigate life and have space in which those elements can have consciousness and not just be these subconscious suppressions and traumatic memories and things like that. Like, you know, as a Libra moon, it's like, it's very to my soul, feeling like, you didn't use diplomacy, you didn't speak properly, you didn't you know, relate yourself in a way with your sun in the 7th house flanked by Venus and Mercury, to not be this like overbearing light to somebody else's shadow aspect, you know. And now it's like, you've reduced them into an image by which they will marry Shawl a la a VenTreeLoki demonic Balfagor whore, hoarding the uneven weights and measures of what you distribute. And I'm just like, God, please let me be a balanced giver, taker being, because I need your heart to go on. I need your wisdom, love, and light and teachings to go on. And as much as I can think I can make an improvement to the grand plan, I want to work with that which was already given to me as the tool, like, of the fool. Like, I only have that for myself, like my heart and my spear in my hand and my moon eye, like the whole liminal space of like what churns out the milk from the cosmic ocean back to thy, as an alchemical process by which, you know, I needed to be reciprocal. I needed to be necessary for the fact that I want life to have a discipline to it within myself. And because the sum total of what I know does culminate at the descendant, with my sun in the 7th house in Gemini, Purva Bhadrapada Jupiter, and Vishaka Libra trining Punarvasu Sun Jinki 12. The purity that I need in the vanity of discrimination and caution, it's knowing that all these archetypes are at play and not demonizing any one of them for, you know, spilling blood on the touchstone.
just a standard arch. So the combination of a square or a rhomboid with
Moving on. I just want to go back a bit. I was speaking about the waters separating. I was still trying to sing the waitress song. It's not simple to say. Most days I don't recognize me with these shoes and this apron. That place and its patrons have taken more than I gave them. It's not easy to know I am not anything like I used to be, although it's true I was never Enneagram 5 individual envy 4 of Leviathan's Jedi hook attention sweet center. I still remember that girl. She's imperfect, but she tries. She is good, but she lies. She is hard on herself. She is broken and won't ask for help. She is messy, but she's kind. She is lonely most of the time. She's all of this mixed up and baked in a beautiful pie. She is gone, but she used to be mine. It's not what I asked for. Sometimes life, through a furrow and a fernax and a Virgo burrow, just slips in through a back door. With Mars conjunct the North Node and Rahu, the demons, they scream. Because your Lilith mom dreams. And you're not what I asked for. If I'm honest, I know I would give it all back for a chance to start over and rewrite an ending or two. For the girls that I knew who was reckless just enough, who gets hurt but who learns how to toughen up when she's bruised and gets used by a man who can't love. And then she'll get stuck feeling scared of the life that's inside her, growing stronger each day till it finally reminds her. I was flat, to fight just a little, to bring back the fire in her eyes that's been gone but used to be. Can we do it? Mine. No, it used to be mine. She is reckless, but she's kind. She is lonely most of the time. She's all of this mixed up and baked in a beautiful pie. She is gone, but she used to be mine. Ugh. God makes no mistakes. Let's continue.
About the water separating the waters. Again, I'm seeing alchemy. I'm seeing all these elements of alchemy that the Fornax constellation is known for. It's sometimes called the chemistry set, the alchemy. I think it's like the alchemy's chemistry of this constellation. I think is one of its names. It has a few different names, but it just keeps coming up. And you just said it again. And it was in the painting that was correspondent with that biblical verse as well.
Interesting, because maybe you already said this, but the Fornax constellation is four-pointed, like a four-sided polygon. It's not a parallelogram or a rhombus or anything, but it's quite correspondent to a lot of shapes that you see in the mise-en-scène of this episode. So I'll point them out.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll be in some of the screenshots, but I'll be like, "There's Fornax right there," because it's in there.
Yeah. And one of the symbols that catches my eye the most will be a rectangle or a cube or a monolith almost, but it has an archway access portal, almost like a mouse entry, that just a standard arch. So the combination of a square or a rhomboid with a horseshoe-shaped access point, to me, is screaming out alchemy, Fornax, which is the origin of the word fornication. The word fornication comes from Fornax, and so in this episode where Loki is testing his own chemistry, he's seeing what his own shadow self is like. He's like, which we'll get to, but they're testing each other's alchemy to see how they can get along, how they work together, alchemically speaking. So yeah, it's both. It is erotic, but it's also just interpersonal intelligence as well. It's kind of walking a thin line there.
Let me just catch that. Okay. So the number 4, they say it's not a square or a rhomboid with a horseshoe-shaped access point. It's interesting, like my mom's foot looks very horseshoe burned, like around the big toe. Like just the way like her foot looks a little smaller and like has a different type of curve to her other foot. Yeah, and the things they were saying about like time traveling and stuff to like figure out like her origin point as like a Percy hidden girl, and just seeing her being like this black flame to all of the members, it was giving me very needing to doctor sleep in the next level of at MercuReUs Lake with the spiritual alchemy of these things, because yeah, like anything could have psychically attacked me. It could have been the Wi-Fi. Like I sleep much better when there's load shedding, when like all the stuff is off. I don't know why, but like I feel like the frequencies of hearing the fridges and everything, like the Wi-Fi has been giving me headaches. TVs and stuff playing in the background and stuff, like white noise and all sorts of things were like working on me. So and And at the same time, like all the horror movies that I watched were like wanting to have a Coco Halloween photo across the bridge of context. I don't know. God, please. Like, please, like, yo, just help me. Because, yeah, I don't know my own strength. All I know is that there's something inside of me that will take on the fight internally, and it like it doesn't want to die, it doesn't want to be forgotten. And I can't like sell my soul to anybody else's moon eye in that way of knowing the divine feminine and Holy Spirit Shekinah wisdom that cloaks me.